Hey, Coach Richard here. I'm curious if anybody's got any feedback on training, like endurance warriors, right? That are training mainly fueling your bodies in a paleo or carnivore method. I didn't pay much attention to it, but I realized not too long ago that I, I spent 2.5 years living exactly that way, still training very, very, very hard, very competitively, but living in the far north of Canada, eating spruce grouse, ptarmigan, caribou, some moose, lake trout, and a good old little bit of this boy, Bear. He was a nasty guy. He was just ripping up a fishing camp like mad. Needed to be taken out, and I did that. But that wasn't the point. That's not the point of this. Is I was living that way, and I had come out of college. Imagine that, living on Mountain Dew and Twinkies because we didn't know any better. That was the breakfast of champions. And then suddenly thrust myself into the far north in a pure carnivore environment. Had to go hunt it, had to go find it, had to find it to eat, but there's plenty of game around to be able to do that. But the point being is I never really studied, never really gave it second thought through all these years, decades and decades later, that performance seemed to be pretty good. I was feeling pretty good. In fact, when I left there, I ended up in the desert, living at in Mesa, Arizona, first house I ever bought, and then up to Flagstaff, Arizona, living at altitude between 7 and 10,000. But I came from 2.5 years of pure carnivore eating. There were no vegetable gardens. There were no grocery stores to go make nice things that way. And what I've learned through time, of course, is if we can mitigate inflammation, if we can do a whole host of other things, which I highly promote through a whole supplementation line, but just from a standpoint of the macros, who's training on a carnivore sort of paleo, and what's your experience been with it? I would really like to know, because I can't find that much data out there of people that are really training and going down that road. Maybe there's a good reason for that. Maybe it's like, no, that's not a thing to do. But if there is any other feedback, I'd like to get it, because I do know this, that if you provide an optimal cellular nutrition profile, for the most part, you can mitigate a lot of the stress you're putting your body under through intense training. You can start to calm it down that way. You can help it repair quicker. But the other side of it is what is the upside of the macros being more, I call it protein oriented, easily assimilable, sort of muscle promoting uptake? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. And this is a guy who, hey, listen, I've been involved in that world for a long, long time, and I just don't have the answers. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for input. If you've got some input, I'd love to hear it. I really, really would. In that, and good old Bear actually made a point of saying, okay, I'll help feed you. I'll help feed you, and a bunch of other indigenous kids around. I was the Chippewyans of the Dene Nation, where I lived with, between like 59 degrees north latitude and 62, and it was a good. And I was called teacher who runs around a lot. That's basically what it is. Because I was still training 40, 50 miles a week, even at 30 and 40 below. So that's it. Just send me your input if you would, please. Or know somebody who might be doing it. Pass this along. Please just let me know. Okay? Thank you. Coach Richard out. Bye-bye.